Traditional repertoire or a experimental fusion?
Traditional repertoire, for sure.
What is more challenging, group or solo choreography?
Solo. Any amount of skill that you acquire is not enough. It's not just dance. Earlier, gurus knew they would make you do the mandi, but they would know when to use it and where to use it. It was not a show of strength, but it was where it would fit and where it would blend and move on. Nobody is wanting to go beyond the performative, and that place is overcrowded. So I think everybody needs to understand that performance is not the only way you look at dance. When you learn dance, you have to keep a lot of windows open.
Namaskaram. Welcome to Nirvikalpa Talks, where we dive deep into the artistic journeys of legendary gurus and masters. I'm very honored and humbled to have Padma Shri, Geeta Chandran today for the interview. Namaskaram Akka. How have you been?
All well.
So last year marked the 50th iconic year after your Arangethram, and you have been in this dance field for such a long span and long duration. What advice do you give young dancers like me? I'm completing my 20th year of my Arangethram this year.
I don't know what to say because 50 years have just zipped past and it's been a very exciting journey. I think 20 years is a time to take stock and realign yourself and see where you are in the profession and where you would like to go. I think you need to have short-term goals and long-term goals, which has been my simple philosophy, and I take every day as it comes, and thank God for being able to do what one does, and stay the course without bitterness. I think that's very important, to keep bitterness out. And as long as you dance, you're in a space which is very, very relaxed, very, very elevating. But the real scene is tough today, I realize that. And hence, our times, I think, were not easy, I would say, but the challenges were very different from what it is today. So whatever advice worked for my generation might not work now. I realize that the times have completely changed, and I think the only way you can keep your sanity, and what I tell my youngsters, is that any amount of skill that you acquire is not enough. It's not just dance. Today it's about communication. Today it's about reading much more, to be abreast with what's happening. And I think the skill basket needs to be very diverse today. So I think the investment has to be in every possible aspect of dance, because you never know what you have to pull out at what time and use it as your Brahmastra. So I guess that would be the advice, to widen the whole horizon of dance and not see only dance from the performative lens.
It's like a wonderful. So now you have come from a proper Guru Shishya Parampara. What relevance does Guru Shishya Parampara hold for you? And do you think it is actually relevant in this age and time today?
Our times were different. We learned the arts with no stakes. We learned it because I think our parents were very deep into music and into listening to music and watching a lot of dance. So we came into dance without really wanting to take it up as a profession, or it just was part of growing up and learning with a lot of fun and a lot of love and a lot of care for each other. And peer was similar, working class, and I think the teachers were very invested. We went 3 days in a week. There was a time to go, there was no time to come back. Just watch the seniors, teach the juniors. It was like 4 hours of class, and and we didn't have social media, we didn't have television. TV, we didn't have the multiplexes, we didn't have the malls. So I think life was very different. So I guess the Guru Shishya Parampara then and today would really not be fair to compare. But I think today it's more of, and also the main thing was that we learned from gurus who were non-performing gurus. They were teachers, they were gurus. So they only taught. So each person had a different style. They would craft the dance on the student, and there was no one size fits all kind of thing. Or you have a long neck, so use the height in a different way. Or you have a lower foot which is very long, so your aramandi will be different. So they would craft the aramandi differently. So everything, that's why no two people in the class dance the same way. So that's why there was variety in the dance. It was never the same. So I guess that I took. And when I teach today, I really craft it on the person. It's not that the same choreography will look exactly the same on different people. There will definitely be a kind of a personalized intervention in the way the person dances. And some people are very good in maths, some people are for some others the sculptures stances work. So one has to craft it in a certain way. And I think Guru Shishya Parampara really is a big phrase. And I think it's more about the sentiment with which you approach it. So for me, it's like we are friends when we are traveling, when we are doing a lot of other things. But when it comes to the class, there is certainly a discipline that one follows. And there is a learning through osmosis. It's not only I teach you a piece and you learn a piece and go. You also sit and watch how I create, how I do my rehearsal, how I interact with my musicians, how I interact with you, for example. This is a learning. They have to sit and watch. So I think all this goes into the current Guru Shishya because they are learning from performers. They have the advantage of actually watching somebody do all of this. How I do Nattuvangam, they learn Nattuvangam. Or how I, from a concept to a performance, how do I travel? What is that journey? So all that they get to see very close quarter. So I think all this is a great learning and which was not part of the other Guru Shishya Parampara earlier. So I think there are a lot of add-ons, a lot of intangibles that have come in now, and how I communicate. I take them for a with me, how I communicate with the young, how I talk with the young, how I motivate them, how that passion needs to be kindled, how that fire in the belly needs to be, kind of given a flame, given a chance to come out. So all this observation, I think, goes into the student. So it's not just the class, So I guess there is so much more today to a Guru Shishya, and our teachers never found opportunities for us or looked for us as to where we can perform or what they taught us. That's all. But today a teacher is also expected to give, give a presence to the student. So I think the role of the teacher has also, or the guru has also expanded in manifold, keeping in mind the current dispensation. So, but one can't really compare what was and what is because the environment in which we are teaching and learning has completely changed.
You beautifully put up the methodology of how to teach our students. But currently, the younger generation of dancers are sorting out different teachers for different kinds of aspects of dance. And this is a term that is in vogue in the dance field now, mentorship. What do you think about that?
During our time, there was a debate whether you should go to Kalanidhi Mami for Abhinaya. Suguru Mama used to ask me, in Alaripuku yarata poporan, Pillanaki yarata poporan, Padatthukku poyachu, inni vera. So this is an ongoing question which happens with time. Our teachers were male teachers and they had a certain inhibition. So some teachers happily sent their students to Kalanidhi Mami, but some teachers had a hesitation. So I think that was definitely there at that time. And that was the burning question then, whether you actually needed to go for Abhinaya to an Abhinaya expert or and earlier on also Gauriammal was there. So even Yamnya Kajla from Gauriammal. So this has been there to go and take additional. But today I think most of the dancers are Swayambhus after a point. They don't need teachers, right? So they have learned the basic things and then they look for success formulas. Who is successful and what can I get so that instantly I can become a star.
Rather, is it like that this teacher is going to provide me this opportunity? So I go.
And there's a network issue, there was a visibility issue. So I think this whole thing of mentorship also is linked to that. And you get into a certain peak, certain network thing which your teacher can't provide or which you're staying with your teacher doesn't give you. And there are lots and lots of people who are freelancers. So they are available to any group production, anything that anybody wants. So they are available and they think this is the way to kind of navigate and move. Also there is an economic thing also, because if you're a freelancer, you are working with so many people and you learn along the way and you also earn. So that aspect is also there. If you're with one teacher, maybe you don't find that. Also institutionalized teaching. Every year, certain graduates come out of Kalakshetra and they are freelancing, right? They don't have teachers, so they are all there. And from where do they get the material to dance? So they need material, right? Either they have to again go to a teacher and work with them, or they pick up as they go along from workshops and other things. So I think accessibility has become so easy today. Earlier, even to get an appointment or to even talk to a senior dancer was not easy during our time. They were like, stars and they were divas and we would just get to see them on stage and that's about it. Today you can go on Messenger and say, I want to talk to you. I get so many messages from so many people. I want to talk to you. I'm doing a research project. These are the questions straight away. They don't even ask, will you be willing to answer these questions? They straight away say, these are the questions, please answer them. So there is a sense of entitlement. There is a sense of urgency and they just want you to do it. And there is an access, some way they find an access, find an email, find some way of getting the number and they reach you. So I think this kind of democracy in one way is good, where everybody is equal and everybody does their bit. And if you feel like engaging, you engage. You don't want to engage, you step back. So, but the flip side of it is, we are losing the essence, the kind of legacy that somebody is creating and passing it on. That legacy is not good there because everybody thinks they are great enough to create their own. So that flow, because earlier when I used to go to Chennai, I remember, I would consciously see one Muthu style, one Tanjavur style, one Vazhuratan style, one Kalakshetra style, one Sudharani Rupati style. I would pick and choose and see, and I knew what to expect when I went there. If it's a Mutswami Pillai, I would look for the choreography, I would look for the tweaking and that little thing that he would do. Vazhura, the musicality. So everybody had a USP and one would enjoy the range that one saw. But today it's monochromatic. Everybody has a certain stance, everybody has a certain energy they flaunt, everybody looks the same. There is no difference because there is one look that I think everybody tries to copy. So I think so when many people say Bharatanatyam is boring, I kind of agree.
Yeah.
Because I just feel it's one, as I said, one monochromatic kind of a dancing that you see, which is robotic, which is well over-rehearsed many times. Even the dancer seems bored of what she's doing. And it is very predictable for me because I've seen so much maybe. And I feel that if you can do something well, supposing it's a Monday or something, you do it 40 times and you know why you're doing it, only for that character identity. Earlier, gurus knew they would make you do the mandi, but they would know when to use it and where to use it. It was not a show of strength, but it was where it would fit and where it would blend and move on. So everything has a time and space. But here today it is only to play to the galleries, right? And to get those claps at that particular time. And it's okay with the audience. So I think it's both ways it works. If the audience is not discerning and it doesn't know what dance is, this is what circus is, what dance is then, right? So you can do that, fabulous, how nice, physically so fit, very good. But because they've not seen anything better, I think. So the visual vocabulary and the reference points are not there. And this is a generation which is maybe first time viewing dance. They are very happy with what's happening.
It's rather become a circus out there, Akka. Like the youngsters who come to the shows, they come to see what is just different. What if I'm not a dancer, I'm going to go look at a dancer and what else does he do that I can't do.
So that's the thing, it's post-creativity, where it's not an organic process springing from the music or from the rhythm or from a movement process which is happening. It is just what can I do which somebody else hasn't done. If it's standing upside down, so be it. So I think that cannot be the guiding force to create. You have to have some process to create. I think that's when it becomes like I used to always say that when you saw the seniors dance during our time, there was a repeat value. You wanted to go back and miss something, particularly Lakshmi Vishwanathan or somebody. I missed some phrase. I need to go back to it and watch it. But today's dance, I don't find the need. I don't see any repeat value because it's one smooth going thing, which neither touches you or moves you or stirs you from inside and makes you, kind of say, what the hell, So I guess it's okay. It's one way of proceeding and status quo.
So I was there at your recent performance at the Krishnan Sabha. It was wonderful that I could take away so many aspects from your dancing. And I also noticed that most of it was not rehearsed, maybe I'm wrong, but the way you carried out certain pieces and the way your movement gelled with the song, I could feel the aspect of Manodharma there. How much of Manodharma hits you on stage? Can you elaborate on that?
I never practice. Because particularly I do the rhythm portions with them, but the Abhinaya portions are completely Manodharma. I mean, in the sense, we've had that as part of pedagogy because my first teacher, Abhinaya Saraswathy, never repeated a hand. She would always do 6 hands, and next class when we come all prepared, she would do another 6. So we were thrown into the deep right in the beginning. So I think that process made me good or bad, I don't know, because today's is like every to the last walk is also rehearsed and kept. And this happened, in the 80s, when dance suddenly changed and it became like a very, very, a Western model of well-rehearsed, well-codified structure, even the musical phrases being fixed, even the tala, one beat also being fixed, performative act, from a very, very soulful, a very relaxed and a very well-delineated, long, stretched. From there it becomes a condensed, tight, performative act. So I think that's where I think things changed. So it became from that, but music hasn't lost it. Music still has that quality of being able to delve and kind of. But dance suddenly became more rehearsed and choreographed. So I feel our generation was not like that because we were never taught like that. So I think I try very much to do the same. What I do is initially you have to structure, you have to do it, but then once they know the piece well, what we do in the class is I sing 5 times extra beyond what is taught and ask them to explore. For which you need to fill yourself, if it's a Shiva piece, you need to fill yourself with iconography, with stories, with mythology, with a lot of poetry, so that you pick out something which has already not been said in the choreography, or you pick up one particular phrase in the line and you develop that. So, or you go into abstraction. So these are aspects which we do in the class. Every class, when we do a varnam or a padam, we take that time to, or I just do 5 more hands and while singing, and they just watch. So they know the process from where you take off and how to fly, using the vocabulary and using the philosophical context of that particular piece. It's not easy. Everybody can't do it, but everybody attempts it. I think it has to start, and slowly more and more opportunities you get, more and more you work with musicians, it slowly grows. But please never box in a piece and say this is it. I feel that's limiting the whole scope of this beautiful art form, and just saying this is it. Never should we say that a piece is choreographed and nothing more is possible in it. You have to keep, and you are moving with age, you're growing in your experience, you're watching so much, you are imbibing every day as you grow, your frame of reference is growing. I think that has to be reflected in the dance. How come after 40 years you're dancing the same piece exactly the way you danced 40 years back? How is then dance evolving in you?
Akka, also there is a recent shift in what audience expect. We don't get to see proper Margam presentations anymore. Even if we are to apply for a festival, they ask us to create something and they want us to give it a name, and it has to be a production per se. So I personally feel that a production or a dance piece have to grow in you, and that is when you can apply for these places. But when you are restricted and this is what the norms are, how do you deal with it?
See, the Margam, I think, is really beautiful if it's done and approached in a very creative way. But just the Margam itself coming back or being in vogue is not the problem, because the Margam also I have seen being trivialized, and the way you approach the Margam is so contemporary and so different that a problem is not whether it's a Margam or a non-Margam or a production. The problem is how you're doing it, right? It's not what you do, but how you do, as they say. But I know from where you're coming that some of the festivals have started asking for productions. And how I feel is, if you're in a particular teacher's setup, I think four or five of you have to get together. And I feel ideate and do something together, because then I feel I kind of 3 or 4 I find are of the same mindset, and I let them kind of provide the music and let them do what they want to do and try and come up with something that I can maybe supervise and then present. So that's one way of going about it. At least you have in a setup your own students who think alike, who've been taught alike, and who can work together, and there'll be a synergy in it. But I understand, recently I saw one production, I'm not going to take the name, and in a very prestigious festival, and I could tell that it was put together in 3 or 4 days, and very disparate dancing levels, and they just came together for the festival, and it was a waste of an evening, of a slot. So I agree that this kind of compromises are made, and people who don't have students, who don't have a network, who don't have a group, are forced to put groups together. And that has also affected the teaching, I must say, because in Delhi, for example, many of these so-called major seminars have this dance production in the end of it, which is a jamboree of all styles, and they all come together there, right from Bhangra to Bharatanatyam to name it, and every dance style is there. And the dancers there for Bharatanatyam may have learned for 2 years or 3 years, and they know only basic 5 items, and they can bring it. That is enough. So I think those kinds of compromises and giving, creating this jamboree, these kinds of things are okay in their own for what is being done. So for the international audience or for some groups to understand what dance in India is all about. But that becomes the mainstay. You see? So because those children are so busy that they are not even wanting to learn ahead. They are so busy, they are performing every day. So I think this is all detrimental to the overall health of the system, and how do you correct it? I really don't know. But the fact still remains that the basic training of dance is being diluted.
I was 8 years old when I saw you first perform in Chennai, and you were, I think, experimenting on certain aspect. And I still remember your costume for it, a black bodysuit, and also you were experimenting with lights and just the mudra being shown, just the hand, just the feet, and just the face. And how does your creation process works? How do you start off when you create your own production?
I think each production has its own process or starting point. It could be just a word that I have come across in a poem and that leads to a production, or there's been a visual Arpana Kaur is a good friend who's a visual artist, and I have seen some of her works and the entire choreography just comes alive. I see one still of hers, as one artwork of hers, and it comes alive. Or it could be a concept like an Ekanta, which Jaina philosophy, which a friend of mine gave me a book to read, and I read that, and that moment I read that, I said, yes, this translates and this gives me enough scope for a. And the thing that you talked about was about a book release in which they asked me to explore ugliness. Can you explore ugliness in dance? The book was called Beautiful and the Ugly or something like that, and they were trying to show. So I thought, how would you show ugliness in dance? And it set me thinking, and that's when I did Anath, and that I used some feet positions which were scary, which were so ugly, and we normally do only beauty, right? And so with hands, how do you show ugliness and how do you explore ugliness with face? So then the light became a choreographic device to not just do a production and say, just light me up now, but the light is a choreographic device. And we've explored light a lot right from the beginning and tried to make it a part of the narrative and not later on as an addition, add-on. So I think each work has had a different process. Shivam was one of my first works, which was based on a poem. So I read and I said, yes, this abstraction is something I want to do. So I think it's poetry, visual art, anything that a concept, a very philosophical idea which can translate, then you work slowly and sit with scholars, understand more, read, and then try to come with a working script. And then we have many working scripts, and then finally then we completely, after doing the flow, we sit with the musicians and with the percussionists and the melody part of it. And melody part is very important as well because they mix the whole thing together. And how much of mathematics, how much of arithmetic to use, how to use rhythm effectively. I think all this is now a skill that needs to be picked up, which was not required earlier, I guess.
Speaking about lights, I think you were definitely ahead of your time. And now that every production or a dance recital that we go to is completely lit up, and we are at times put in a position whether to watch the dance or look at the lights that's on the artist.
So I think judicious use of tech is the most important thing. As I said, judicious use of others. Where do you use what? And how do you link it? What is coming before and after? Nobody seems to be bothered about that. The fact is, it is a continuum, right? So even a Varnam, if you see all the 4 lines, it's a poem. It's a complete poem and it's all linked. So you can't read, it's so strange, but I was sitting in a not an exam but an audition, and I was asking somebody said this is Bhakti Shringara. So I said, please explain. She said, no, first line is Bhakti and then the Shringara comes. So, it's as simple as that for some people, and for us it's so complex that we find to find the link and the continuity and how to hold on the style in all the aspects. So, you can trivialize anything. So, I think it's a question of an intelligent approach and how much of what to use and the balance and the harmony that you create throughout the composition. No one element should scream and say, I am there, watch me. So it should be a blend, it should be a flow, it should be a seamless flow.
Also, your productions are mostly based on social subjects, which are carefully handpicked. How do you go about curating those?
I was fortunate to be commissioned initially with some of the work, like Women in Wars, my first, Her Voice was a commissioned bit. And then I realized that social issues you have to feel. Unless I feel, I don't do it. It is not because there is a certain amount of sponsorship for that. Somebody told me, why aren't you doing something on the Ramayana? Just got money today to do something on the Ramayana. So this doesn't happen. If I feel like doing Ramayana, I will do it at some point in time. So there has to be a calling to social issues. You have to really feel. At one time, women was very important to me because many of my friends were going through difficult relationships. They had got married, some had abusive relationships, some had women children, hence they were thrown out of the house. So I think there were a lot of issues in my head which were not resolved, and I was kind of fuming, and so I needed to channelize it through my work. So I think there is an inner need, and environment is something I feel very strongly about, because what are we going to hand over to the next generation? So I think it has to be a calling to be able to kind of do these things. The environment and women have been my first concerns, and I have addressed a lot of these. But I feel to actually make a difference, it's hard. But at least as an artist, I don't feel I'm always talking about the perfect kind of scenario, but given the situation in which we are, given the environment in which we are, there's so much of stress, I think somewhere my art needs to address it. I can't be insular to this whole situation. That's why theatre scores. They are so proactive when it comes to. So dance, many of the theatre people feel that we are kind of in one happy glass house of our own and we do our little bit. But that's not true. It's possible to relate, it's possible to engage, and it's sometimes even possible to do some of these traditional pieces with a different mindset, And what I choose to do is how much I'm also choosing not to do. Many of the lovely pieces were relevant when they were written, but today I feel it's completely out of context to be doing it. It doesn't resonate with me. So I steer clear from that. I might learn it, but I will not perform it. That's the other thing. We learned many compositions which we never performed, but those helped us create later on. So it's not everything that you learn you need to perform. And I think the learning curve is important.
Talking about learning curve, I think the younger generation of dancers are facing so many things, like we have to be in the performing scenario and our face has to be seen every now and then, and that's when we can even be in the field.
See, because everybody is only in the performative part of the dance. Nobody is wanting to go beyond the performative, and that place is overcrowded. It's highly, highly competitive out there. So I think everybody needs to understand that performance is not the only way you look at dance, when you learn dance, you have to keep a lot of windows open. Like somebody who's doing psychology has gone into movement therapy. Somebody who's done sociology has gone into arts education. Now, these are allied areas which can help you perform and still be connected with the arts in whatever you're doing. So I think you need to make those synergies with dance so that you're a happier person and you don't look always towards when is my next performance, when is my next performance, when is my next performance. I think you need to go a little beyond that and engage with dance in different ways.
Let's speak about dancers and money. How do you think a full-time artist can earn out of this dance field? Because what I certainly feel is that as a dancer, I am shelling out money, and all the other aspects of dancing, they earn more than what I am.
That's true, because I think dance has always been an expensive form, but today I think the opportunities for staying afloat are so much more, because every school, dance teachers are paid very handsomely, particularly the private schools today. That's a great option to stay afloat. Teaching, I see anybody and everybody teaching. So online teaching is happening, your in-person teaching is happening, you go to any kind of setup and teach. So I think teaching is a huge, today the wanting to learn is so much more than before. In a city like Delhi, which had 4 or 5 teachers in the 60s, today I think every street has a teacher. So I think everybody seems to be having students. So that's the other way. And I think the another easy access or democratization has happened through social media. So you can put it out there and there'll be takers. So I guess, it's much better today than what it was earlier. But I agree that to be a full-time dancer and only look at performance is hard.
Also, Akar, speaking about demographics, you being in a place where it is dominantly other different dance styles, how difficult was it for you to establish yourself as a Bharatanatyam dancer?
I think in Delhi, it's like a melting pot. Every style and every form of dance is taught, is watched. And as children, I think we've had all the greats here performing. And for me personally, I think my teachers were already well established. The Krishnamurti sir was already a name here when he started, when I started learning from him. With Jamuna, Akka took me to Kalanidhi Mummy also, and they all used to come here and do workshops, etc. So I think here Bharatanatyam became very, very popular with Abhinaya Saraswathy. So they paved the way with Sonalji. So all these people paved the way for Bharatanatyam in Delhi, and I think we followed in the footsteps and got opportunities. And there were a lot of private presenters here at that time who presented. We had to not always look towards the government for presenting us. So particularly all these senior dancers had that advantage of private presenters, and it was always ticketed. It's only now that it's not ticketed.
And also with the advent of social media and Instagram, the attention span of audiences are decreasing. So we are pushed to do something which catches the eye and make the audience stay. So what do you think about this, Raka? How much of it can be put out there on the social media?
I think it's a very personal take. Like many of my peers just don't want to be in Insta, for example. They just don't understand it and they say, but I chose to be there, and I just feel that there has to be a more sensible way of doing the social media and handling it. And I feel completely come out of it, that is not, I think, the right thing to do. We got to be there and say that there's this is also possible, and try and be there. So I agree that you see so many people coming up with so many different personal things that they post, and it's not their personality necessarily to be posting. But then again, it's a vicious circle. You get likes, then you've got to keep those likes going. So you again are caught in a cycle. And those who are having less followers, want more followers, hence you kind of push. So I don't think it's very healthy, and I feel sad for your generation because you're in this spot where I have many of my students who are they're wonderful artists, but they're introverts. They don't really necessarily want to share, unless it's a meaningful content, they don't want to share it. So I think it goes against them, and they are not out there. So I think it's an unfair kind of a space where, but the ones who go bang, they're also there. And how much of that translates into performance, I really don't know.
But unfortunately, Akka, the more amount of followers you have, that is when you get actual performances.
I don't know that translates into performances. I have my doubts about that because I've seen many people who are great, but they're not nowhere near the mainstream. It might happen. We might move towards that, but I don't think as yet it's the game is going in that direction.
What do you think about the fairness of opportunities recently?
See, I think it has never been fair. It's not a recent phenomenon. We didn't even have a second generation. Nobody thought of young dancers. At least now people are thinking of young dancers. During our time, we just were there and the divas would dance year after year. And nobody even thought that it was necessary to have a second line because people were so, ecstatic about the divas. So they had a long innings, and I think our one generation got completely left out because of that. And then the youngsters, people started thinking, we need next lot of dancers to come. So by then, this lot had already kind of, in a sense, lost their prime. So yeah, I mean, today it's far superior to earlier times, better than earlier times. But the fairness bit of it in any profession, I think it's not fair. That many things are not fair. But I think if you want to play the game, how far you want to toe the line, it's a personal choice. So it's a personal thing. There's always many routes that are there before you. But would you do what it takes? Would you want to kind of go that route? There's something that you need to decide for yourself, and how badly you want it, and would you go to any extent to get something. So I think that's a very personal take in any profession, not only for dance.
So speaking about self-respect, when a dancer, especially as women, when we put ourselves out there, and most of, I'm speaking about the sabhas and sabha secretaries, how do we even draw a line at that situation? And many of the performances are now being sold. We are asked to pay a certain amount of money to get those slots.
But I am never been part of the sabhas. You know that. I have never tried. Madras has not been an aspiration for me. If I'm called, I go. But I have never done this for Madras. But I feel sad because if people actually have to pay for an opportunity, I think it's extremely demeaning. I think no dancer should stoop that low. But I blame the dancers. They are standing in a row to do that, right? So you don't blame anybody else. If everybody collectively decides that they're not going to pay, where do these people stand? So if you have people standing there and vying over each other to go and still get an opportunity, then we have to blame ourselves, right? We have to point the finger right back and not there, because there are people doing it.
Thank you, Akka. We'll move on to the rapid fire round. Traditional repertoire or experimental fusion?
Traditional repertoire, for sure.
What is more challenging, group or solo choreography?
Solo. Group is exacting.
One padam that always moves you?
Maguruji.
A dance item that you can perform on repeat?
Krishnan.
If not a dancer, what would you be?
Musician.
One quality every dancer should cultivate?
Endurance.
What is your creative process like? Spontaneous or planned?
Spontaneous.
Wonderful, Akka. I had a wonderful time interviewing you. Thank you so much for doing this for Nirvikalpa.
And thank you, and I wish you all the best. Proceed and don't really step back. Go for it.
Thank you, Akka.